Hey retro fans, welcome to another episode of Retro Gaming Memories. In this episode I'm going to be doing part 3 of my Amstrad collection. This will be a sort of clamshells, compilations, that kind of stuff. So I've got them all as usual, just sitting off camera there. So we'll just dive straight in. First up, Ghostbusters. Now I've put this in a clamshell case because the original case that I had for it, which was that kind of plastic vacuum form thing, that all cracked and broke, which was a bit of a pain. So to keep it keep it presentable, I put it in there. So yeah, Ghostbusters, brilliant game. Really nice conversion as well. You can't really fault it. The only thing that's missing is the speech that was available in the Commodore 64 version, which would have been nice, but you know, it's all good. Next up, one of my favourite fighting games ever, with Exploding Fist. And I've got this signed by David Rowe, who I met down in Blackpool. I've got a nice print of the artwork for this, which you can see in my video games artwork video if you're interested. Anyway, with Exploding Fist, absolute classic. Another ninja game. I love my ninja games. Avenger, although Exploding Fist isn't ninja, that's karate, but martial arts, you know. Avenger, and I think I've spoken about this one before in one of my other Amstrad videos about how I did chores to get enough money to go and buy this because it was on offer at £3.50 or something like that in John Menzies. But yeah, I remember going to buy that. Great game. Next up is Night Games. This was one that I got from the Home Computer Club. It was the editor's choice, and I've spoken about the Home Computer Club before, but this was the kind of editor's monthly choice that got sent out to me. Turns out it was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a bit of a pain because it's a multi-load, takes forever, but the graphics in it are pretty sweet, and some of the events, like doing the crossbow and all that kind of stuff, is great fun. So it's a really nice game. Turned out to be alright, as opposed to the normal monthly choice, which was usually terrible, but you know. Next up is a terrible game, Tales of the Arabian Nights. It is pretty bad, but I've got nostalgia for it. I used to borrow this off my pal, and loved playing it. But yeah, so I've got it for nostalgia. It's not brilliant. It's your traditional sort of platformer. It's alright, but not brilliant. This, however, is brilliant. Raid. Really hard when you're a kid. The first level, there's that guy there, everybody will be familiar with this, is trying to get out of the hangar. When you're a kid, that's really hard. but it's a great game. It was called Raid over Moscow on the Commodore 64, but they changed it to a more politically correct Raid, although it does say play it like there's no tomorrow, and there's pictures of the Kremlin and all that kind of stuff. Very much Cold War type stuff. There's quite a few in here that are Home Computer Club related. Yeah, so this was another monthly choice, but again it turned out that I quite liked it, and that is Jump Jet. It's really hard, but I remember as a kid not really being able to play it. I didn't understand what you had to do, but the kind of takeoff, you have to, let's see if we can get that, you have to do a takeoff section, and it's like overhead cameras and stuff, and I just thought at the time it was really unique, and it felt like you were kind of flying a plane. And it does say it's a sort of simulation. It's alright. I've played it kind of fairly recently, within the last 6 months, and as an adult, when you take your time to play it, it's actually alright. There's quite a lot of depth to it. It's not too bad, especially if you go for like proper flight mode where the wind and everything affects you and it's just a bit chaotic. It's crazy. It's good fun though. 3D Boxing is up next, the Amsoft Gold section. Yeah, I think, was this later released as Barry McGuigan's Boxing or something? I can't remember. But yeah, it's not really 3D. The only thing 3D about it is the ring, essentially. But it's actually alright. It's quite a nice boxing game. I quite liked it. considering it was an upgrade, I had an Atari 2600 before the Amstrad, so to go from Atari 2600 boxing, which I really enjoyed, to that, it was kind of like, it's like being at the pictures. It's amazing. So another Amsoft Gold is 3D Grand Prix. Kind of does what it says in the tin. Quite a nice driving racing game. I've got more nostalgia for Formula 1 Simulator, the Mastertronic one, but it's pretty good. And it does feature stereo sound, so if you have headphones in, you do hear the cars passing on whichever side, which is quite nice. A game that should need no introduction to anybody is Bruce Lee. Absolute classic. Love it to bits. Enough said. Here's another Home Computer Club special. Biggles. And I remember getting this. Home Computer Club sent me it, and I remember getting it through the post, and we were going on holiday to Berwick-upon-Tweed the morning it came, and I was desperate to play it, to try it, to see what it was like. My friend was coming on holiday with us, and I remember kind of running backwards and forwards to his house while my mum and dad were getting the car packed and all that kind of stuff, and ended up firing this up just to have a quick shot. It's got a cracking theme tune. It's got a few different levels to play in it. It's based on the 80s movie, in case you didn't know. The movie's alright. It's not quite a cult classic. It's kind of, bits of it are so bad it's good, but it's an interesting concept. The game is alright, actually. There's a few good bits in it, so another one that turned out to be not too bad, considering it was the editor's monthly choice. One I didn't have back in the day, although I had them all separately, the Elite Hit Pack, featuring Airwolf, Commando, Frank Bruno's Boxing and Bombjack. All classics, all great games. Really nice conversions on the Amstrad. Airwolf is just horrible. Every version of it is horrible. It wants to be a good game, but it's just so damn hard. The Commando conversion is pretty good. Some say it's not as good as Who Dares Wins, but I quite like it. Bombjack is astounding on the Amstrad. It's a beautiful conversion. When I was a kid, I was convinced it was arcade perfect. It looked amazing. Frank Bruno's Boxing is just a home computer version of Punch-Out, the Nintendo Punch-Out game, but all good fun. An absolute classic here, Defend or Die, which was just basically Defender, but one of the best home computer versions, whatever you want to call it, of Defender, featuring sensational, no less, sensational stereo sound. Yeah, not just normal stereo sound, sensational. Let's see, another Home Computer Club. God, there's loads of these when I think about it. Home Computer Club special. And this turned out to be a weird one because I've never really seen it since. This comes up on eBay once every 5 years. And I don't remember seeing it in the shops. But that is Nexus. Very strange box, apart from anything else. I've only really seen one other game, and that was a Commodore 64 game. Can't even remember what it was. Tiny little pamphlet titled Nexus. Sort of grey tape. See if we can get that. There we go. Get that in. So, yeah, strange little box. Seems like an awful lot of packaging for not a lot of anything. That slides on the top. There we go. It's a kind of espionage, action, arcade adventure thing. Side-scrolly, a bit like Mission Impossible. You can do fighting and things in it. I'm sure there's a bit where you get a jet ski. I've not played it for years, but it had digitised graphics of your kind of team members and things, which I thought was quite nice. So, pretty funky game at the time, but yeah, a bit of an oddment. But there you go, Nexus. Right, so we'll move on to the cardboard boxes next. Chase HQ. Loved the arcade game. Absolutely loved the arcade game. Used to play it. They had an upright version of it down in Berwick in one of the arcades that I used to go to. That was the only place I ever played it. But I used to love it. and the Amstrad version was a really, really good conversion. Graphically, I was going to say superior. I'm at a toss-up between this and the Spectrum version. The Spectrum version, although it's kind of monochrome, plays beautifully, sounds great, and looks really nice. This is obviously more colourful. The Spectrum version, if I'm being honest, is probably closer to the actual arcade version, but this looks beautiful. It's really nice, and it plays really well. The sound on the Spectrum is actually better. If you've got 128K, the sound on the Spectrum has got more arcade samples than this, but it's still a great conversion. Looks beautiful, and I got Bob Wakelin. I don't know if you can see that on the cover of the Lamborghini there. I got Bob Wakelin to sign that, and I keep meaning to catch up with Bill Harbison and getting him to sign it as well. He did the graphics for it. But yeah, Chase HQ. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, not Ninja Turtles, Hero Turtles. Yeah, I remember this. This was a weird one. I was never really a fan of the Turtles. I think I was a little bit too old for the Turtles at the time. But, you know, it just sums up how much everybody loved martial arts in the 80s. You know, they had Ninja Turtles. But this game, I remember, I did some work for a guy. It all sounds very dodgy. I remember being in a video store in Christorfin looking at the Amstrad games. And this guy was talking to the person that worked in the shop. And I went up and bought an Amstrad game. It's one of these strange kind of fate stories. I bought an Amstrad game, you know, $2.99 or whatever it was. And and the guy that was standing in the shop said, "Oh, have you got an Amstrad?" I was like, "Yes, that's why I've bought an Amstrad game." So he got chatting to me, and it basically turned out he was the guy that supplied the video shop with games. And he said to me, "Look, would you be interested in working for me?" So he supplied the games to the store, and what he was looking for was basically someone to test the games for him. Turns out that what happened was people used to buy the games and then take them back, either because they were broken, didn't load, whatever, or most likely because they had copied them and wanted their money back or whatever. So he was looking for someone with an Amstrad to basically take any tapes that were returned to the video store, and I was to load them up and check that they worked, and if they worked, fine. If they didn't, then I was to mark them that they didn't work. And that was all fine, and he couldn't pay me anything, but what he would pay me in is games. Sounds good to me. So my dad came into the shop. He had been next door and getting messages or whatever, but he came into the video store, and I said, "Dad, this guy wants to offer me a job," and I told him, and my dad was obviously quite suspicious because I was, whatever I was, 12 or 13 at the time, you know, and some guy talking to a 13-year-old kid, even back then, seemed a bit weird. So my dad was a bit suspicious, but it all turned out to be legit. The guy said, "Look, my car's parked just up the road. Let's go up and I'll show you the games and that." So he popped the boot and he had this big bread tray full of games. So my dad said, "Yeah, that's all right, fair enough." So we went home, and about a week later the guy turned up, chapped the door, and he came up with this bread bin full of games, and he said, "Right, these are the returns from various stores. Run through them, test them. I'll come back in a week. Tell me the ones that are broken, tell me the ones that aren't, and you can take 10 games from that selection, you know, whatever's there." So I'm like, awesome, I get 10 games for nothing, just for loading games. I've won a watch here. So that was that. Anyway, this is all coming back to Turtles. You know, I've not lost the plot. The last batch of games that he gave me to test, he says, "There's a brand new game in there, I thought you might like to try it." He says, "I can't give you it, but because it's just released, it's just out. But if you want to have a shot of it and try it and see what you think, see if it's worth me buying," because he had sold budget games up to this point, and Turtles was obviously a full price game. So he gave me it to try, and I loaded it, and I thought, "Oh, this is quite fun, it's alright." Anyway, I basically never heard from him again. I tried phoning him, he disappeared off the planet. I've no idea to this day what happened to the guy, but he left me with a bread bin full of about 50 games, one of them being Turtles, and they were all returns from various video stores. And I couldn't get in touch with him. I tried phoning, there was no email back in the day, at that point in time. All I had for him was a phone number, didn't know where he lived or anything. So I tried phoning him for about a week, couldn't get through to him. So basically that was that. I just kept the games. So Turtles was one of those bizarre games that was one of these kind of strange moments of fate. If I hadn't been in the video store buying that game, I would never have met him, blah blah blah. So it was quite good because that helped me obviously build my collection. I mean, I think I worked for him for about 6 months, so I probably got a good 100 or so games out of him, which was great, so yeah. Anyway, that's what I think of every time I look at Turtles. Anyway, next up is Batman the movie. Absolutely brilliant game. I loved Ocean Games back in the day. It was a mark of quality, obviously. Although I did find it funny when I bought Batman, that basically Batman walked with the same broken earth walk that RoboCop had, because I think they'd basically just reskinned the sprite, which is fair enough. No point in reinventing the wheel. If you've got a sprite that walks and looks good, then why not reuse it? It's just that RoboCop it worked because he kind of looked as if he was doing it on his haunches and kind of but Batman looked as if he was sitting back a bit too much. But still a brilliant game, and I love it. A little bit of a story behind this: The Untouchables. So cracking movie. I haven't actually played The Untouchables before. Even to this day, I still haven't played it. The only reason I bought it is because many years ago, one of the Christmas editions of Amstrad Action had a cover tape on it which had a demo of The Untouchables, and I remember playing it, and it was a sort of Operation Wolf type level, where the bad guys would sort of come out of windows and stuff, and you had to move the crosshair and shoot them. But I remember it being quite different because you could kind of hide in cover, and you kind of rolled out and shot at them and then moved back into cover. And I remember that being quite unique at the time. And I remember the graphics being very kind of blue and black, sort of Spectrum port type thing. But yeah, so I bought the game, this game here. I bought that based on that first level that I played in a demo all those years ago. I've still to this day never actually played it, so I should give it a go and see what it's like. Next up, Ghostbusters 2. Looks really nice. What a beautiful looking game. Although it's published by Activision, I think it was the Oliver twins that actually did the coding and whatnot on it. And yeah, it's a really nice game. The first level you kind of drop down into the sort of sewer pit thing, and you have to zap all the ghosts and all that kind of stuff. That never appeared in the movie. You saw them going into the manhole thing and sort of rappelling down to the river of slime, but there was nothing trying to grab them. And I met the Oliver twins at Replay a few years ago, and they were talking about Ghostbusters 2 and developing it. And they said the hands that grab the ropes and all that kind of stuff, that was all originally going to be in the movie. They saw a script, I think it was, or a pre-cut or something like that. And yeah, it was all edited out the movie. I presume that probably would have cost too much for the special effects budget to do all that kind of stuff, all the ghosts floating about, or maybe it would have introduced the ghost too early, I don't know. But for whatever reason, that sort of thing was cut out of the game, although they kept it, cut out the movie, but they kept it in the game. So pretty cool. And last up of these sort of cardboard boxes is Operation Thunderbolt, the follow-up to Operation Wolf. And this was from John Menzies. Cost $9.99. Don't know if you can see that. A really nice conversion. Operation Wolf was beautiful on the Amstrad. It looked amazing. And Operation Thunderbolt played really well. It looked really nice as well, considering that it kind of scrolled towards you as opposed to scrolled sideways. Quite a technical feat, but really quite nice. So yeah. So onto the sort of bigger box and compilation things. We have 10 computer hits. What's on this? Chucky Egg, Pinball Wizard, Killer Gorilla, Heroes of Can, Special Operations, Flight Path 737, Ghouls Defend or Die, Covenant, Jack and the Beanstalk. back in the day I had this, and it was just an amazing compilation because Chucky Egg was fantastic. Defend or Die. I didn't own this clamshell version. I'm pointing here. I've got the stack of them there. I didn't own the clamshell version back in the day. It was just the version that was on here. Killer Gorilla was a fantastic version of a Donkey Kong. And I don't really remember any of the other ones. The Covenant, I remember. I didn't really like that. Flight Path 737, I never played that. But yeah, I've never played Pinball Wizard. I should go and give that a go, seeing as I love pinball. Robocop. I inadvertently sounded a bit like I'm there. Robocop. Yeah, I love this game. I think I've mentioned in other videos that I love the Robocop movie. So the game was astounding. I remember being very slightly disappointed because I loved the arcade version and the arcade screenshots. And on the back here, yeah, there's no 8-bit screenshots whatsoever. But I remember being slightly disappointed that it wasn't a conversion of the arcade game. But they did a really nice job with the stuff that they did put in here. The kind of level shooting the bad guy that's got the woman and all that kind of stuff. Really nicely done. So, yeah, the Robocop, the Robocop game. There's a bit of a story. It's always got this nostalgia thing for me. I remember doing German at school, and one of the homework assignments was to write a letter to an imaginary pen friend saying what we had been up to. And I couldn't think of anything to write. So the instructions in Robocop are multi-language. There's English, French, German, something else, Spanish possibly, I have no idea. But yeah, I basically wrote this letter to my imaginary pen friend saying, "Hi, how are you? I've just been to see a new movie called Robocop. Here's what it's about." And in English, in German. And then I copied it's basically got the story of Robocop and the instructions, and I copied all that out in German. And I said, finished it off, "Hope you are well, best regards, Dave," whatever. And I handed that in, feeling all proud of myself and all that kind of stuff. And my German teacher, Mr. Black at Forrester High School, great guy, I really like Mr. Black. But he sort of pulled me to the side and he said, "Your German all of a sudden has become really good. Can you tell me what," and he said a couple of words, "what that means?" And I was like, no. And basically it caught me. The language that's used in, the instructions, the story of Robocop, was way more advanced because it was natural German, obviously, rather than the high school stuff we'd been learning. At that point in time, I think I could order a plate of chips with sauce. That was about it. So to be going on talking about kind of OCP and future things and mechanised robots and crime and whatever else, and all these kind of more advanced German words, he just knew straight away that I had just copied it out of a book or something. So yeah, he didn't give me a row or anything. I think he quite liked the kind of ingenuity of it. But yeah, he said, "Don't do that again." Things you do when you're a kid. Anyway, moving on. Solid Gold compilation. Didn't have this back in the day. I had the second one, which is coming up next, funnily enough. But these were really good. It was US Gold that did these. I think they differed across the different platforms. So Solid Gold on the Amstrad is different to the Spectrum and Commodore versions. There's a couple of different games. But yeah, in this one you've got Gauntlet, Ace of Aces, Leaderboard, Winter Games and Infiltrator. All pretty good. So, Solid Gold Collection 2. This was a Home Computer Club number. My mum and dad bought me this for my Christmas from the Home Computer Club because this was like $14.95, I think it was back in the day. But some cracking games on here: Kung Fu Master, Gunfight, Night Lord, Desert Fox, Bounty Bob and Quest Probe. I really like Kung Fu Master. I love the arcade game, and this conversion's okay. I don't think any of the 8-bit conversions were really brilliant, but this was alright. Gunfight I'd never played, but it's one of those sort of ultimate play the game isometric adventures set in cowboy times, and you get this inflatable horse which can make you move faster. Quite a lot of good humour in it. It's quite good fun. Night Lore was another ultimate game where I think you had night and day that changed, and you would change into a werewolf and all that kind of stuff. Desert Fox was a great kind of World War II shooter strategy game. Bounty Bob Strikes Back, brilliant platformer. Quest Probe was an adventure game, a text adventure, which I wasn't even remotely interested in. Still never played it to this day. Gold Collection 3, another one. I never had this back in the day, but just to complete the collection. So this has got Express Raider, Leviathan, Crystal Castles, Black Magic, Revolution, and 10th Frame, which is a bowling game. I've played Express Raider, and that's it. Yeah. I should go back and give these a shot at some point. Next up we have Airborne Ranger. I remember buying this out of Macro at Sight Hill. I used to go up there with my dad to get supplies for school and whatnot. And I remember they had this, I think it was £8 they had it for. And I picked it up because it looked like a war game. It's got guns in it. Yay! Such a good game. It turned out to be obviously a classic. Keyboard overlays because there's that many buttons in it and all that kind of stuff. But having to choose where your your supply drops are, and then parachuting into enemy lines and trying to find your supply crates and all that kind of stuff, and being stealthy, kind of crawling through trenches and popping up with your knife and popping somebody. It's great fun. Really good. Next up, Ikari Warriors. Absolutely brilliant conversion on the Amstrad. Looks really nice, plays really well, close to the arcade game. Yeah, worth checking out. Really nice. Next up is a game that I want to love. I think it's a bit of a Marmite game for some people. I really want to get into it, but I've never really managed to because it's so goddamn hard. And that is Platoon. I remember seeing the screenshots back in the day of that level. Oh, get my finger out of the way. With a guy sort of first person type perspective, coming out the trenches, out the tunnels towards you. I can't get past the first level because it's so hard, but I loved Platoon the movie. So yeah, having the game of the movie is pretty cool, and this has got the tapes, Tracks of My Tears, it's got the audio tape and all that kind of stuff. And I got this signed by Simon Butler, who designed the game. So next up, I think these are all compilations to finish off. The Konami Arcade Collection on the Imagine label. This is a brilliant set of games. Jailbreak, Green Beret, Year Kung Fu, Ping Pong, Year Kung Fu 2, Mikey, Jackal, Hypersports, Shaolin Road, and Nemesis. That's a beastly collection of games. Jailbreak and Green Beret I used to play in the arcade. Year Kung Fu, obviously as well. Ping Pong never played, but it's actually a really good game. It's good fun. Year Kung Fu 2 we shall skip over. The cover art for it is miles better than the actual game. Mikey I never played back in the day. I had a shot of it, didn't really know what you had to do. It's apparently quite rare. Jackal, I can't really remember. What was Jackal again? Oh yeah, sort of scrolling thing. Never played it much. Hypersports I loved. That was a great game. Shaolin Road, absolutely loved it. I used to play Shaolin Road in the arcade. It was called Kicker in the UK, in the US, and it was only called Shaolin Road for the UK conversion. But it's a really nice conversion on here actually. Nemesis is pretty good as well. So all good games. Green Beret I remember being disappointed with on the Amstrad because I loved the arcade game. On the Amstrad it doesn't scroll, you kind of get from one side to the other and then the screen flicks and it's a bit poo. It's still playable, it's alright, but yeah. Another great compilation, the In Crowd by Ocean. So you've got Grisor, Barbarian, Crazy Cars, Predator, Platoon, Target Renegade, Combat School and Karnov. Some cracking games in there. Karnov's brilliant fun, Grisor's astounding, Barbarian is amazing, Target Renegade's brilliant, Combat School's amazing, Crazy Cars is pretty good, Predator is Predator. Another brilliant compilation that I loved is Tato's, or Taito's Coin Up Hits on the Imagine label. So what have we got here? We've got Rastan, Flying Shark, Arcanoid, Revenge of Doe, Slap Fight, Bubble Bobble, Arcanoid, Renegade and Legend of Cage. All cracking games. Flying Shark looks like the Spectrum version, that's kind of monochromish, but it's really good fun. Slap Fight looks brilliant, it's got a great soundtrack on it. Arcanoid, both Arcanoids on the Amstrad look brilliant. Renegade, cracking game. Rastan looks really nice, plays pretty well for an 8-bit conversion. And Legend of Cage is pretty good as well, so that's a nice one to have. And lastly, we are the champions. So this has got Super Sprint, Renegade, Rampage, Barbarian and IK+. So the standout moment for me on this was Barbarian, because back in the day this was the first time that I'd ever played Barbarian, and I remember getting this from Virgin up in Princess Street in Edinburgh. $14.95 it was. And I got home and loaded up Barbarian because I thought the screenshots in the back, and I had read the instructions, you know, as you did, you got in the bus and you kind of opened it all up and you read the instructions. And I thought, this is a sword fighting game, this is brilliant. So I loaded it up and I had a little shot of it, and I thought this is good fun. And then I managed to execute the flying neck chop, which everybody now knows. You know, he spins round, and if you time it right, takes the head off your opponent. So bearing in mind that I was about, I don't know, 10 or 11 maybe, played this, flying neck chop, thwap, head off, guy falls to his knees, blood spurting from his neck, falls forward, little gremlin comes and drags him off the screen. I remember feeling sick, genuinely feeling sick, and kind of a bit nauseous at the whole thing, because it seemed so realistic, which is laughable now, but I think I tend to get kind of drawn into games and forget where I am and all that kind of stuff. And although it's an 8-bit game and it didn't look realistic, I was that into it. And you know, when I thwapped the guy's head off, because the sound effects in the Amstrad are pretty good as well. So you do get this kind of when you take his head off, and just the fact that there's blood spurting out his neck and then falling to his knees. I just felt nauseous at the time. Like I say, it's kind of laughable now, but you know, and I think that got banned in Germany for that reason, for it being too violent. But yeah, that's my outstanding memory of that compilation. So there we go. That is the part 3 of the Amstrad collection. That is all my Amstrad games to date. I will keep adding more as we go, obviously, because I still collect for the Amstrad. Because it's got a huge nostalgia factor for me. I think the collection's pretty much where I want it to be. There's a few titles that might drop in and out, but you know, there's not going to be loads of them. So I might do an update video at some point, but that's it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope there's been a little bit of nostalgia in there for you. Yeah, thanks for watching, and as usual, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I shall see you next time.